Alright guys, so what we're doing right now, we are just cleaning up the face of the graver. I like to do a 55-degree angle for the face. This is a really low grit. This is a 260 grit, so we're taking quite a bit of material off the face. And then we're just checking to see what it looks like. I have a video microscope right next to my setup. I'm just cleaning it up. This one's really bad. This one actually chipped pretty bad, so this one's going to take a second. Silly, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions on sharpening gravers, please ask. Norbert, as far as push graving goes, if you're slipping a lot, it could have to do a lot with you could be dealing a lot of problems with your heel. What heel are you using? Like what geometries are you using? Are you sharpening by hand, or are you using something like I'm using here? Okay, so you're definitely pushing probably too hard, or you're not controlling your height. So as you go in, if you tend to move too much, how on your heel, how big of a heel do you have? Is it like a really small heel, or is it a larger heel? Okay, so yeah, and I mean it could be a small heel. If it's a small heel, try to make a slightly larger heel and see if that helps. Oftentimes with small heels, really small movements basically adjust your height. So if you have a really small heel and you're pushing and then you accidentally just move just ever so slightly, that can actually make it so then you are actually moving upwards and cause you to slip. So use a slightly larger, maybe double or triple your heel size and see what it does. I can't guarantee it's going to fix it, but larger heels tend to give you more leeway when it comes to the movement. Yeah, the 90-degree graver shouldn't matter too much, just because it's going to be more so the issue of your elevation. So as you set your elevation, that heel, if it's really short, ends up, any little movement is going to cause you to move out, up and down. So your heel is basically your control, your depth control. So if you have a small heel, small movements will control your depth. So with a lot of the fine work, you need a really, really small heel, and that's great. But when you have these really deep gashes or doing your push grading and you're starting out, a really small heel can be an issue. You can either go too deep or or too shallow and then cause you to slip. Yeah, this is a really slow process, guys. This is why I don't sharpen too often. I try to sharpen 4 or 5 gravers at a time. It's just slow. Norbert, awesome. Okay, hopefully that works. I hope that helps you out a little bit. Because yeah, if you have the Apex system, you should be spot on. I chipped all of these. These are all chipped tips and, you know, broken tips. So we're just going through and just refacing everything. Yeah, I mean, I started out with just like your diamond plates too, and then one day I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna just bite the bullet and pay the money for a hone. I tried getting away with a WS3000 knife sharpener, and it worked okay. It's just too fast. Drifter, I've got Mafia Siciliana Musica. It's just Don's music channel on YouTube. They actually don't have a ton of subscribers, but I just play it. I think it's suiting for what we do here. So right now this is a really high, or not a really high grit, this is a really low grit. And like I said, what I'm doing is I'm going through and just refacing everything, meaning I'm taking out the heel. And then we just re-heel everything, repolish, redo everything. This one's chipped pretty good too. Norbert, yep, yeah, you just stick with the same degrees. 15 degrees is fine. Just go, you know, a few more strokes, make it a little bit bigger. You know, oftentimes my heels are probably 1/4 millimeter big or smaller. Make them a millimeter big. Try a 1 millimeter heel and see how that goes. That's a pretty big heel. Andrew Ramirez, hey, how's it going? Tatuya, of course, that's what I'm here for. Like I said, guys, I'm not a master engraver by any means. I only know what I've been taught or learned on YouTube. But I can say that I had a really good teacher when it came to sharpening, and he was meticulous with his sharpening. And if you're meticulous with your sharpening, you have a perfect graver, you can make some beautiful, beautiful cuts on metal. And remember, as we are sharpening our gravers, the 120-degree gravers we've got. All right, we've gone through and we used our 260. This is our 260 grit. We're gonna move over. We're gonna move over to our 600 grit. This is just gonna be a quick pass. We're gonna do quick passes on this. This is not so much, this is just to refinish the face. So we'll do probably 5 to 10 seconds just to refinish it. That's fine. Sergio, now I get what you were saying. Yeah. Took me a second to get it. When you're sharpening, you don't want a ton of pressure because you don't want to overheat the tips. Oh, we screwed up on that one. I wasn't paying attention and I didn't put the face perfectly right and I had it offset. We'll see if I can save it here in a second. Taylor Scott, I actually don't do any more commissions. I like to just focus on education and doing my own art projects. And then eventually I'd like to auction some of the stuff that I do off, but I still haven't done it yet. Oh, is it supposed to go this way? All right, we've gone through the 600. Now we're gonna go on to the 1200. Actually, I'm just gonna skip that altogether. We're gonna go over to our 3000. So these wheels are the nice GRS wheels right here. These are like really expensive, you know, a few $100s each. These right here are my homemade makeshift sharpening wheels with some like acrylic that I've got, and then I go on eBay and buy like the Chinese diamond plated sharpeners. This is a 3000 right here. They work just as good in my opinion. So if you end up getting you end up splurging on the power hones to sharpen your systems, don't be scared to just use the normal, like the cheap wheels. They work, they honestly do. Save yourself a few hundred or a couple $100s at least. And yeah. Mr. Crispy, awesome. I appreciate you tuning in. I haven't heard from you in a minute. Hopefully all's going well. Slade, I do hand engraving on metal. So this is a 3000 grit, and we're actually gonna let this really do its job right here, because I wanna, you know, we went from 6,000 to 3,000, or 600 to 3,000, and that's a pretty big jump. So I want to make sure that I take any of the larger scratches from the 600 grit out and just really polish it. And always speed up a little bit. Looks great right there. Now I use my 3000 to actually make my heels, so this will be the last grit. Norbert, hey. Norbert, awesome. Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. Now, as you gain more experience with push graving, you should have a smaller heel. So don't just get set on that heel. Try to go with smaller heels as you get better and better. And it just depends on your control. So the better you get with controlling your depth, the smaller the heel you have to have, and the more precise and refined you can be. But yeah, Norbert, so I use larger heels for borders, things that need to be really, really straight and flush. Anton, no, it won't cause metal annealing as long as you're not heating it up. This doesn't get very hot at all, so there's really no pressure. But yeah, if it overheated, you could technically anneal a metal. This is a carbide tip anyway, so it takes a little bit more heat anyways. I do, if you can see this is one of my main things right here. This is safety. You don't want to be breathing this dust in, so I like to have a fume extractor / HEPA filter. So don't be breathing this dust in. It's bad. Andrew Ramirez, go to school, man. Go learn. Black Goat, yeah, I'm trying to get a little bit more into long format videos. We'll get into them and stuff. I appreciate it, thanks. This is one of those trades and skills that's kind of being lost over time. I've got a laser back here. I use laser too sometimes for certain things, but I just use it as a tool now. I started a hand engraving after I did laser engraving. Laser engraving just didn't hit it for me. The Winston Double, yes it is. Yeah, it's a diamond polishing wheel. This is a cheap one from eBay though. This is a cheap eBay one. So it works just fine. I'm done with this one here and I'll show you the underside. So Winston Double. So this is an acrylic, like I said, I use lasers for tools. I've got a CO2 laser back behind me and I cut out a perfect wheel to fit onto this cheap eBay diamond wheel, and now I use it on my GRS hone and it works just fine. When I first was doing them, I started with wood, and then I realized wood wasn't very flat. It was kind of so it kind of wobbled. So I wouldn't suggest wood. I would definitely go with an acrylic base if you're going to do it with the cheap wheels. Antrast, yes, yep. All right, we've got our four gravers complete, or not complete, but they are refaced. Now we're going to go into a polishing, and then we're going to put the heel on them. So this is your ceramic wheel right here. Some people use like a diamond spray. This is a diamond spray right here. Personally, I like to use a diamond compound grit that I got off of eBay. This is a 200,000 grit polishing. So it's like, it's really, really high grit for that mirror polish. Jacob, well, I'm glad you're on here. All right, this was polished. I don't know if you can tell. Can't really tell. It's kind of hard to tell, I guess. The camera can't focus for some reason. Hopefully I get a new camera here soon and it's going to be better for lives. The Ghost, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. And Tress, so I appreciate you coming in. Dude, I actually don't need a respirator on this one. If you notice right here, I've got a HEPA filter filtering it all out. But yeah, you're right. If I didn't have a HEPA filter, you want to wear a respirator when you're doing this, 100%. Jay Clark, not really. I don't make good money. This is more of a love for the art. So I'm hoping one day maybe YouTube will pay me well enough that, you know, it pays for some bills. But at the moment, this is just kind of a hobby. All right, we're gonna go back to the 3000. Now we're gonna set our heel. So we've done the face. Now we've got to set our heel onto each blade side. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky. You guys can't see it from my angle, but I have to basically set the blade of the graver perfectly flat here. So it has to be perfectly flat at a certain angle. Now I like to use a 15-degree. I like to use a 15-degree heel with a 120 graver. That usually puts us at about 30-35 degrees, but it's not accurate all the time. Just how I set my graver, the screw amount, something's off by a little bit. So yeah. Pizza Pie Billy Fry, my friend. This is an educational one. I can't really teach without talking, my guy. So I have a light behind here that shines, that allows me to see when everything is perfectly flat. We're actually going to go, I'm going to do a 20-degree heel just to make it a little bit more robust. So we're going to go 20-degree heel. Now, the shadow itself, let's see if I can show you guys. That light that I'm shining behind from the camera towards me allows me to see the shadow, and as soon as that shadow touches, I know that I'm perfectly flat. Now we just do basically a quarter stroke. I want a little bit bigger heel, so we're going to go with two quarter strokes. So basically a half turn on each side. I'm just checking it under the microscope to see if we're even and flat. A little bit bigger. There we go. Raymond, yeah, I make pistol. I do make the grips. One of the grips I'm working on here shortly, and I'll make a video on YouTube for it, is how I make mammoth ivory grips. So, you know, ivory is a band material, but mammoth ivory is not, since it's since prehistoric. So mammoth ivory has become really popular. Plus, it's kind of cool to have a 10,000-plus-year-old piece of tusk on a pistol. All right, we've polished that graver side. Now we go on to the next. dog in. He's trying to get in. My dog's morning routine is done, so he's now in here with me, just hanging out. All right, we go back to the 3000 grit, guys. Now, as you can tell, right here, I'm gonna shift it, and then once I see the shadow hit and touch, we are perfectly flat right there. We just hold it, and we do 3/4 turn on this one. And we actually need a little bit more. So we're looking to make each side even with each other. So whenever you're setting your heel, guys, don't use any power. It's just all by hand. Just a quick little turn. Polishing, you can use power. And trust, I mean, as long as like pre-band and stuff, or as long as it's always ethically sourced, I don't mind it. I just know, you know, with ivory, it's been a huge issue with poaching and stuff, and I know that there's conservation groups that have, I mean, entire containers full of like their own legally sourced ivory that they can't even sell. So wherever that market goes, you know, as long as it's legal, as long as it's with conservation in mind, I would buy it. All right, back to the 3000 for this next bit, guys. Like I said, this is slow, guys, so if you guys are bored, I totally get it. This isn't supposed to be anything exciting. This is just getting prepped for today's engraving that hopefully once we're done here, we get to go do. Now, the reason I'm going back and forth between the 3000 and then the polishing and not moving this is because if you move this even slightly to try to get the other side, you're not going to get it perfectly again, and then you're back to square one, having to reface it, reheal it, and then repolish it. So this is a kind of like a, you just go, you do it as you go. Again, like right now we're right at a 30-degree heel. That's perfect. That's what it's supposed to be at. But sometimes I've been at 35, 34, 33, It just kind of depends on how I set up the graver. So if you don't set it up perfectly from the beginning, it can be off. That's why I like to use my light method, where I have the light shining and I use my shadow to actually figure out when the blade side touches flat with the, oh my God, I'm having a brain fart, the wheel. Jacob, can you not forge your own blades then? Like if you forge your own blades, you can do like blacksmithing and stuff. That's wild. Appreciate you guys tuning in, guys. I wish YouTube translated some of the stuff you guys are writing. I can't actually read it. But thank you for tuning in. So I just actually picked up a forge yesterday, actually, a used forge in my area. Homemade, but it's pretty well homemade forge. I have very little experience with metal, like blacksmithing. But part of the art to this, what I'm doing here, is I'd like to create something with blacksmithing as well. Joseph Decker, I know that they do, but I don't know how to put it on here directly. Kanat, Anita, I appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully, you understand this part. Hopefully you learn from just watching. Even just watching and learning what I'm doing hopefully helps. There are some great engravers out there though. Again, we're looking at that light, and as soon as it flush, right there, and that's the fastest way I've done it. This one is at 36, so that gives you an idea. The last one was at 30, this one's at 36 angle. So I'm still baffled by what's going on with my setup. I've asked some professionals, but I can't seem to figure it out. Yeah, Joseph, I'm not even going to be doing blades. Blades are beautiful and stuff, but not my thing. I'm doing it more for the art, so welding art, stuff like that, sculptures. And really the forge is just to be able to hot bend and manipulate a lot of the metals. So I won't be doing anything like Damascus, nothing like that. It's really just using it for heat and to just move metal around. Settling torch, Joseph. Settling torch. Yeah, I've got like oxyacetylene stuff set up, but I figured it'd be kind of nice to have a forge set up because propane is cheaper. I've never. I guess does it use propane or does it use? Are you talking like oxyacetylene? Yeah, I plan on using my oxyacetylene torch to do a lot of the stuff. I mean, I've got, if I had more room, I could probably run a full metal shop. I've got welders and I've got plasma cutters. I just don't have time to use them sometimes. I'm doing this stuff. This takes a lot of time. Joseph, I'll have to look into it maybe. I didn't know that was a thing, but yeah, I'll probably have to add the translator so I can help some more people out. Bruh, thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Contrast, yeah, I guess. Got some toys and stuff. You know, just the time, finding time to use them all sometimes is what's the problem. So we've got these all polished out. We've got 4 gravers now that we can use today on top of what I already have on my machine. So I'm gonna go set these over there, and then I'm gonna grab the camera and head on over there. All right, guys. Farman Ali, I hope it's not pre-recorded. I wish it was. And I wouldn't be here right now, right? Get viewers all the time. All right, we are at our bench. Okay, we've got our ball vise. Got my setup right here. You mad, Farman? All right, bro. All right. All right, guys, that concludes the sharpening portion for my lives. I am actually going to stop this live and then get set up for engraving. If you guys are wondering what I do, this is some of the stuff that I like to do. I like to engrave, metal engraving. I'm going to get set up. The project still isn't quite ready. I've got to tape up some stuff to be within YouTube policy, and then we will get started. So it'll be about 5 to 10 minutes before I get started on the other one. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in on this live. I'll be starting a new live specifically for engraving portion. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Peace.